Welcome to the NRRA School Recycling Club Town and Gown Module, Garbage Guerillas, Fighting the War on Waste to Recover Our Resources. I'd like to welcome community educators and environmental ambassadors to today's webinar. Development of this presentation is credited in part to the USDA Rural Development Programs. The goals of this grant are to cross-train solid waste facility operators and school staff in rural communities of New Hampshire and Vermont, so that each group is equally well versed in the importance of indoor air quality and proper supply purchasing, such as no VOC paints and cleaning supplies. Number 2, to take down the wall that can exist between towns and schools by encouraging increased cooperation in waste reduction and pollution prevention programs that benefit the entire community. And 3, expand participation in NRRA's education programs through online learning, such as today's webinar. Thanks to the USDA Rural Development Rural Utility Service, the program training is free. The goal of the program is for the trained participants to work together on creating a safer environment, knowledgeable staff on the proper storage and handling of hazardous materials, and working in conjunction on solid waste issues. Once you have completed today's webinar, please email us at info@nrra.net to receive a link to an evaluation. Once you submit the evaluation, that helps us understand your knowledge and your intention to assist your community with managing hazardous materials. We will send you a certificate of achievement. Should you have any difficulties today during this program or have any questions in general, again, email us at info@nrra.net. So about NRRA, in 1981 there were 4 New Hampshire municipalities that created the New Hampshire Resource Recovery Association. It was then amended in 1995 to be the Northeast Resource Recovery Association, to provide a clearinghouse for current up-to-date information and a source of technical and marketing assistance in the general areas of waste reduction and recycling. The NRRA is primarily in the Northeast, assisting communities by offering advice in the marketplace for the entire solid waste management stream, everything from trash to construction and demolition debris, to freon removal, to recycling, and contracts with your individual material vendors. We are your one-stop shop for all things recycling. We have an awesome school club program that spans the nation and offers K-12 classroom workshops. We primarily work within New Hampshire and Vermont. We do work with other schools outside of that area. The club produces a monthly newsletter. We recently published curricula that ties resource recovery lesson plans with the National Common Core standards, and we put on an annual school recycling conference. You can also email us at theclub@nrra.net if you're interested in any of the programs mentioned. As previously mentioned, the club offers a wide range of workshops and school technical assistance programs that are designed to help schools improve recycling, waste reduction, clean out harmful chemicals, and evaluate trash and recycling practices. Check out the website for descriptions of workshops and pricing, www.schoolrecycling.net. It is worth noting that all New Hampshire schools receive free membership to the club and are eligible for program discounts thanks to a grant from New Hampshire the Beautiful. Schools outside of New Hampshire, please email us and we will give you information on how to sign up to be a member. Since this is a Town and Gown production sponsored by USDA, I wanted to share with you the operator training programs offered by NRRA. We call them MA meetings for members, operators, marketing, monthly meetings. We offer facility operators and volunteers to meet and discuss waste industry topics. These workshops and facility tours can happen several times a year and can be used for continuing education credits as well towards transfer of facility operator certifications and renewals. In addition to MOM meetings, NRRA conducts operator training workshops and facility tours several times a year that can be used for continuing education credits toward transfer facility operator certifications and renewals where applicable. Whether an operator or school teacher, today's webinar is eligible for professional development credits if you complete the 10-question evaluation that you will receive once you request it. And these 6 workshops here will be available online as well. If you're interested in any of the operator trainings, you always check back on our website when those are published. The annual conference and expo is a 2-day event jam-packed with workshops, speakers, exhibits, and more. The second day of the conference combines solid waste professional training with activities and workshops for students and school staff. So we'll now get into the training module. This workshop version is a version of our very popular Trash on the Lawn Day. Rather than sorting all the waste from one day, participants collect smaller working samples of waste, which are audited and analyzed. So we'll talk about how we present this to students and then how we run the activity. So we're talking to a classroom or a room full of community members. We'll ask, what happens to our trash? At school, at home, do we think about it? What type of containers do you collect your trash in or recycling? Whose job is it at home or at school to take out the trash? So we have a little discussion happen here about what exactly is happening with our waste as soon as we put it into the bucket or trash bin or recycling bin, and have students think about where that goes. And where does it go? How is your trash picked up? What do you think happens with your trash? Do you bring it to the curb, put it in a dumpster, drop it off at your local transfer station? What type of trucks pick up the trash? A discussion will include types of trucks that collect and transport waste, commercial collection routes or personal route to disposal facility. What happens at local transfer stations, recycling centers, special waste depots, landfills, and incinerators. Note that following slides detail what happens at different facilities, so this is a good time to get students to discuss their personal experience with waste management. So you might have heard that moving trash can cost a bit of money. Maybe you do a pay-as-you-throw program, or maybe your town pays for it. But why does it cost so much? There is only the one landfill in Vermont. And we're talking about Vermont because they only have one landfill. It's in Coventry, Vermont. You can turn this into a math equation by seeing, starting from a town like Burlington, Vermont to Coventry, which is 68 miles. And you can look at how each truck can travel 45 miles per hour, and a round trip is 4 hours. Or you can look at how each load is approximately 20 tons and figure out what the cost of the tipping fee is. The cost of the tipping fee at the Coventry landfill is around $120 a ton. So you can figure out that it would cost them $2,400. And again, looking at more numbers here, on average, according to the latest statistics, 30% of that truckload consists of materials that could be composted, 20% consists of materials that could be recycled. How much money would you save each load if you reduced it by 50%? So in summary, there are many costs incurred to truck our trash: distance, fuel, driver, insurance, all these things. There is only one landfill where Vermonters bury their waste, and the expected closure date is 2024. So that's just starting the conversation on what are some ways that we can reduce the amount of trash we're sending to these landfills that have an expiration date. In New Hampshire, there are only 5 remaining landfills left. Lebanon and Nashua are private and have restrictions to who can use them, just as an example. And what happens when they do fill up? further distances traveled or build new landfills. Remember the 1987 garbage barge. If you haven't heard of that, you can look it up. You can Google trash barge to end trip in Brooklyn. It's a good example. And some states still resist to taking outsiders' trash, so trash coming from other states. It's imperative that we divert trash from going to a landfill by reducing the amount of waste created in the first place, recycling what we can, and composting organic matter. So again, pose the question, what if we run out of room at the landfill? This map of the United States is a density map representing where most landfills are located in the U.S. As you can see, they are located in high population centers, and it kind of leads a discussion to those areas in the U.S. that aren't close to a landfill. They're having to truck their materials much further, and it leads to the question, where else is the trash going if they don't want to pay those high tipping fees? Here's another map. This map compares the percentages of waste management practices for each region in the U.S. For example, in New England, 35% of the waste generated is incinerated, or waste to energy, 29% is recycled, 36% is landfilled, which is actually good compared to the Rocky Mountain region, where 85% is landfilled, 14% recycled, and 1% incinerated. So this can lead to possible geographic discussion. So why is it like this? Why is there a difference between New England and the Midwest? Landform, public education, population density, economics, and politics may all play in there. And just to note that this map is from 2008, so the numbers are probably a little different in today, but really our recycling rates haven't changed that much over the past 20 years. Municipal waste has gone through many changes as the type of consumer material and amount of generated waste has changed since the 60s. One thing remains the same: we've been landfilling much of the material that is created. So how do we lower the amount of material entering the landfill, increase recycling, and composting? So the landfill is filling up with things we can reuse in the first place. The answer is not throwing what we can use into the trash. The pie chart shows what percentage of each type of material is being landfilled currently. Food waste is the largest portion of which could be composted. Plastics come in second, some of which could be recycled. As we know, humans consume a lot of single-use plastic. So we want to think about reducing the amount of plastic that we're using in the first place. The dark green portion is the miscellaneous items that probably would make their way to the landfill. The rest could possibly be reused, recycled, or not consumed in the first place. So what exactly happens to trash that goes into a landfill? Here's a picture of fresh carrots you see in your lunchroom, grocery store, and at home. If you don't eat the carrots, they may be thrown into the landfill where there's no oxygen for them to decompose. The picture on the right are carrots dug up from a landfill after being buried for 10 years. Now you can ask your audience that question too. How much time do you think is spent in the landfill? Compare the positives of eating it all up or composting the dirt rather than throwing it in the trash to end up in the landfill. So, what are some solutions? This reverse pyramid illustrates the ideal way to manage our waste, starting with source reduction and reuse, waste not created in the first place. Then find out if it can be recycled or, in the case of organic waste, composted. If there is an energy recovery facility, some waste can be burned to electricity. Then the very last place should be disposal into a landfill. If we all lived by these rules, there would be much less waste. Another possible discussion: ask your students to read, define, and give examples for each level. Note NRRA's curriculum that we offer, K through 12 curriculum, provides detailed information in this resource section as well. Grade appropriate lessons addressing each level: waste prevention, reuse, recycle, compost, energy recovery, and disposal. So examples of recyclables. Some of the issues that municipalities, towns, cities run across is that each area, each region recycles differently. So this is an example of what can be recycled at the Chittenden Solid Waste District, which is in Vermont. So this is an example of what they can recycle, which can change depending on the markets as well. But in general, we'll just talk about what can be recycled. Defining what is recyclable for this particular area, it also provides another opportunity to connect the non-renewable and renewable natural resources used in each product. So we point out box board, magazines, corrugated cardboard and paper bags, aluminum, steel, cans, and foil, different types of plastic. So again, that kind of changes depending on if your facility accepts certain kinds of plastic. Glass, food and beverage bottles and jars, buster packs, and clamshells. So it can get a little tricky, but if you contact your transfer station or facility in your area, they will be able to tell you exactly what is acceptable. There are three main types of recycling. You have dual stream, requires customers to pre-sort recyclable commingled items, glass, plastic, and aluminum, separately from papers, newspaper, magazines, office paper. Both commingled items and paper are set out on the curb and collected by 2 trucks, or a truck that is divided in half on their pickup day. Single stream is a system in which all recyclables, including newspaper, cardboard, plastic, aluminum, junk mail, are placed in a single bin or cart for recycling. These recyclables are collected by a single truck and taken to a materials recovery facility to be sorted into various commodity streams for sale to market, where it is processed into feedstock, which can be used in the manufacture of new products. So basically, for single stream, it's putting all available recyclable items into one bin. The problem is people that are unsure if something is recyclable or not will still place it in the bin. Main things are plastic bags that are actually not good to put in the bin because those need to be recycled at a grocery store or other place where they are accepted. So those are just some of the current issues happening with single stream. And then you have source separation, which are multiple bins. Sorting of different materials comprising a waste such as glass, metals, paper, plastics at its point of generation for a simpler and more efficient recycling or final disposal. So when things are separated into their individual material, it tends to be cleaner and it's more easily put into a bale, which we'll talk about in the next slide. So if you've ever heard of a materials recovery facility, or you might hear it pronounced as MRF for short, this is an example of the materials sorted at the Chittenden County MRF in Williston, Vermont. So as you can see, materials are dumped onto the floor and then they're sorted. If a facility has sorting machines that will break everything up into their material. So as we were talking about before, you can either have a single stream where everything's put into one bin and it has to be mechanically sorted and manually sorted out there. As you can see the picture on the right, there are people sorting through that material to turn it into a product that can be made into something new. So when you have source separation, everything is separated at home into individual bins. That makes this process much easier to bale it into a whole bale. As you can see, those cubes there of one material is just one type of plastic there instead of having to sort it all out. This diagram represents the emissions throughout a product life cycle, from raw material to finished product to disposal. You want to compare the amount of energy and type of emission for each stage. You just want to note that greenhouse gases, produced from the burning of fossil fuel, carbon dioxide is CO2, nitrous oxide is N2O, and methane is CH4 in this diagram for the different emissions that are released at different stages of the product life cycle. So products can be extracted from raw material, they can be recycled, composted, combusted to turn into energy, and then landfilled. So look at each part of the stage here and how much in greenhouse gas emissions is released, if at all, or if they're avoided from recycling. Now, there will be some emissions just from the process of transporting materials. It's not exactly a zero emissions process, even if you are recycling, but it is significantly lower than taking a raw material and turning it into something new. So, Garbage Guerillas is just a snapshot, a good way to illustrate how much trash is actually recyclable or compostable. Imagine what a whole school waste audit might find. NRRA offers Trash on the Lawn Day, an opportunity to invite the whole school to sort their waste all day. This can provide leadership development for students and service to the school community. So some of the benefits of a Garbage Guerillas workshop: develop elementary level awareness of trash being viewed as a resource, raise awareness about sustainability, encourage growth or development of an environmental or recycling club, service to the school community, and developing a global awareness. So the Garbage Guerillas event. So now we would be ready to investigate your waste. We will do this presentation to a class for the workshop, the one we just went through, and then we'll start the activity. So if space allows, a tarp is spread and labeled, bins are set up, can be done inside or outside, and NRRA provides all the materials for this. The custodian supplies a working sample of trash to be audited and categorized by each class or group, or a grab bag of assorted items is brought in by the educator and discussed. An option children can hold the sorting bags. Trash can be weighed before and after. So like we said, this can be done inside or outside. During the sort, we'll be discussing natural resources such as fossil fuels for plastics, bauxite ore is aluminum, and wood is made into paper. Compare the quantities either by weight or estimating volume of each resource waste category to determine how much could have been diverted from the landfill. Possible discussion is how can we improve our recycling program based on what we've sorted today. So at this point of the presentation, if we were actually doing a Garbage Guerillas event, we would prepare the students or community members to do the activity either inside or outside. It's a great activity for students or anybody to learn more about what's in their waste and to learn how to find more solutions than throwing it in the trash. And this just about concludes our training module for Garbage Guerillas. Thank you for joining us today to learn more about this workshop through this training module. Remember to email info@nrra.net to get the link to an evaluation in order to receive your certificate of participation. And as always, give us a call or email us for any questions that you may have. Thank you.